Let's talk about Spurs, because they're making headlines at the moment. And right now we are looking at what could be a double transfer swoop for Savinho and Omar Marmoush. And this would come to £150 million, the value of these players. That's what we've been talking about right now. This would be quite the statement of intent from Spurs, who've already brought in a number of players. If you're spending this money, I don't know.
I mean, it's spending a lot of money, but
that's what I mean. Isn't that?
It's bonkers money. But if they want to spend it, they want to spend it. But the game's gone. I mean, that price has gone up for Savinho for what they paid to Girona, I believe it. We watched him in La Liga. He was brilliant for Girona, but that was 2 or 3 years ago. He's skillful. He's quick, but he's lightweight. I mean, that's a lot of money for a player that. Okay, City's not an easy. It's not an easy place to be in terms of you could be overawed because the superstars that were there and the manager. But to pay more for a player that has really flattered to deceive, that's a bit of a risk. And Omar Marmoush, he's fast and he's quick and he scored goals in Germany, but he looks like he has a panic up when he gets near the box. I was talking to Nedum about this. I don't want to stick Nedum in the you-know-what, because he's not here. But I was talking to Nedum, I knew about it at Wembley, and he said the thinking inside City is that in that final third, in that crux moment, on the big occasion, that Marmoush will let you down. Not that he's a bad player, not that Savinho's a bad player, but Tottenham needs solidity. And listen, if you're getting those players for not a lot of money, I'm okay with that, because that's beefing up your squad. And there's never been a bigger time you need a squad. But 150 million or thereabouts on these two? I mean, that's... Ange Postecoglou must be... He couldn't get anything out of Daniel Levy, right, at a time when they were playing some really good stuff. And Roberto De Zerbi's gone in there, and we know he bangs the table like Antonio Conte, and we know he's a hothead, and we know he's demanding, but we also know he's a very good coach. And they're giving him a lot of money to spend. And all this money, to me, puts more pressure on them. But that's a lot. All I'm saying is that's a lot for two players that really were spent a lot of time on the bench at Manchester City. It
is quite the level of financial backing, isn't it, Theo? Are you as surprised as Craig to hear these figures for these players?
I think when you look at these guys who have obviously been at the champions, is always going to be enhanced, the price tag, of course. But I think they're just looking at these kind of players that are going to just excite in some ways, but not really be spectacular. I think it's one of those, you look at where Tottenham finished. Yes, they spent a lot of money. I like their midfield. I think their midfield's where De Zerbi really is going to focus on and where they're going to really be strong. But they need runners, they need people going to work hard, who have been in a team, who at times they need to do more because of course being on the bench for those periods of time and playing bit part. But they're going to be the main guys now, so that's a different kind of mindset for these guys going to a club. We've been at Man City, now we're the main guys. They never felt like the main guys at Man City. So we might see a different kind of breed of animals with these two. To be honest, I think that's what Tottenham need. Look, it can't get any worse, can it, to be fair? But when you spend, Tonali, which I was surprised with them getting someone like that, again, another player that I would see in an Arsenal shirt, but we got the better one, actually, to be honest. But I think it's exciting for Tottenham this year. I think why not? They have to give it a go. They've got the best stadium, and I'm saying it, they have. They've got the best stadium in world football, I believe, being there and playing there and scoring there, which is nice. And I think the fans want to see a team actually winning at home. They've not won, I think. I think they've won 2 games in the space of a few years at home. That's not good enough. So for me, this team, the fans, the guys in there with the pressure, yes. But I think these two could really help with that pressure side of things. They're going to have to. But they're the main guys now if they're going to make this move, because it's a big one for them both.
I mean, I like what the Tottenham are doing. I'm just questioning if they want to spend that kind of money. I would be quite excited if it was a Tottenham fan. But let's be honest, they were absolutely crap last year.
They can't
for
get
2 years.
any worse.
I didn't want to say it.
2 years in the league.
2 years.
I'll say it, Theo, don't worry. They were utterly abysmal. And it wasn't just the football, the mentality. And if Tudor had stayed, and we said this, those players really had never expected to be in that scenario that they found themselves in. And I was down there, Shaka, I think you've been down there, haven't you, battling it out at one point?
Down
Pompey?
With Pompey, yes.
I was down there with Derby County at the end of my career, right, and it's an absolutely horrible place to be. You're looking at every fixture, you're looking at where the point's coming from, you're looking around the dressing room, who's going to help me, who's going to say, my calf's a bit tight, who's going to roll their sleeves up. You're in that kind of scenario. And Tottenham really, but for De Zerbi, you know, they would have probably gone down. Theo's right, the stadium is fantastic. They've spent money now, they've backed a coach. And maybe it is with Savinho and Marmoush, maybe it is getting away from a Pep Guardiola that knew he was leaving, that knew Arsenal were better than them, that knew that his squad had deficiencies last year. And you could sense that within the Spanish manager and maybe his sort of overbearing personality. And you were seeing some of those clips, and those clips have re-emerged from the Theo Walcott and other stuff, where he was getting frustrated in the dressing room. Maybe that did sort of weigh on some of the players that we would maybe describe as a little bit weaker, that don't have that personality to stand up to a manager. And maybe it is Marmoush and Savinho and one or two other players getting away from certain scenarios and being better in a different environment. That could be the case, and I hope it is for Tottenham. But it's an awful lot of money to spend on players that really were kind of bit part at the clubs. If they flourish, that's fine. But it's not without a risk element to it. But if I was a Tottenham fan, you know, we've got Kulusevski coming back. He was out almost all of last year. Is Romero gone or he's going? But he's been, you know, he's a very good player. But you just don't know from one day to the next what he charges about, like a bull in a china shop. Van de Ven signed a new deal. He's happy. They've made some other signings. They've lost Jed Spence, who I think was a very good player. Can play in several positions. He showed that at the World Cup. He's very quick. So they have lost some players. But the signings they've made, in the most part, are saying we want to be somewhere better than where we've been in recent years. And I think by spending that kind of money, there is a pressure on De Zerbi not to win the league. That's not going to happen for a long time. As Arsenal showed, it takes a while. But there's going to be a pressure to be in amongst the others that are spending similar types of money, and that's going to be a really interesting watch if you know, in the Premier League next year, rather than what we had to endure watching Spurs last season.
I don't think there's any question that Spurs are better than they were last season, and you'll see how much better.
Shaka, I think they're better than they were last season just by having De Zerbi alone.
But let's remember where they finished last season. They just avoided relegation. So by having De Zerbi, by these signings, if I'm a Spurs fan, I'm excited about the season to come in a way that I don't think Spurs fans have been able to be for quite some time. There are a couple of things to these signings. And Craig's right. Every time a signing is announced, I find myself saying, I'm not going to comment on the transfer market. The money that's being paid is absolutely ridiculous. 150 million for these two, on the face of it, is really a lot of money, kind of given those numbers. I want to say those numbers are based on Savinho at Girona and Marmoush at Eintracht Frankfurt, as opposed to the two players we'd seen at Manchester City. That being said, I saw some reporting saying that the Savinho deal was valued somewhere around 95, and then Marmoush making up the balance on a player that City bought from themselves. Remember, it's the same ownership group at Girona, for a third of that, which again has me questioning a whole lot about how these deals are structured and what happens. But if Spurs are prepared to pay the 150 for the two, fair enough. While you could question their value given what we've seen, particularly over the last season, two for Savinho, I don't think there's any question they're better than what Spurs have in their dressing room right now, and makes them a better team for it. That's an ambition that we've not seen from Spurs, particularly under Daniel Levy, for quite some time, and that alone, showing the shackles are off, for me, is a good place for Spurs to be.
I was watching a documentary on the flight back from the UK last night. It was the Mourinho documentary, right? Yes, I was watching it. I don't know why I was watching it. It was boring.
Good, isn't it?
Huh?
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a very interesting character. I just tend not to watch football stuff, but I thought, well, I had it on my phone, so I watched it. And there's two players popped up in it, and I'm not comparing Omar Marmoush and Savinho to these players, but there was two players popped up in the documentary in the background, in Mourinho's time at Chelsea, and it's very akin to what we're talking about, was Mo Salah and Kevin De Bruyne, who seemed to get a little bit swallowed by West London and maybe Mourinho and Chelsea and all that, price tags and blah, blah, blah. And they went off in their separate directions and came back to the Premier League as different players. Now, those two players are at a different level. But when they were at Chelsea together, it was a struggle. When Kevin De Bruyne signed for Man City, there was people in England saying, this is bonkers. Was it 40 million or what? I can't remember. When they signed for Manchester City, there was people saying, this is bonkers. He did nothing at Chelsea, which is pretty correct. But it is a sign that because you're struggling at one club, it doesn't mean you can't, get your career going somewhere else. And those two, albeit they turned in to be superstars, those two are a great case in point. That if it's not working for you at one place, you can go away and you can make it happen somewhere else.